African investment managers are gathered in Cape Town today at an event that brings together institutional and retail investment communities and aims to equip investors with a toolkit to survive and thrive in tomorrow's world of investment management. Joining us now from Cape Town is Carl Marais. He's Director for Africa at Grail Research. Carl, a very good afternoon to you. From the numbers that you see across the African continent, when you look at people who are interested in Africa and are looking at African countries perhaps with a view to come and invest, let's speak first of all about the countries that they're invested in. Which are they?
Sorry, I can't hear you clearly, please.
Okay. My first question to you was, which countries do you see attracting investment opportunities, investors from outside the continent? Which countries are they, and are there any common traits that we can pick out of those countries that outside investors are interested in?
Okay, so what we're finding is there's a large trend for companies to be looking particularly at the oil-producing countries at the moment. The focus for us at Grail Research, we're doing a lot more. What we're finding is that South African companies have woken up to the opportunity in Africa. So the majority of our work is actually more South African companies moving up through Africa. So for South African companies, the top opportunities are definitely, Nigeria. It's that huge market. We've already got, a very large presence with MTN there and Standard Bank. And Nigeria, it's such a large market, and it's accounting for more than half of, the GDP growth within Africa. So that's become a very attractive market. On top of that, we're finding that companies are taking different approaches to moving up through Africa. So for some, it's a case of initially they're just moving into SADC. It's kind of safe. They can keep it close to home and they can manage it from here. Some companies are moving beyond SADC, to the next level. They're going to Zambia, Tanzania, possibly Kenya. They're finding it easier to go kind of up the English-speaking Eastern corridor.
Right.
And then we're finding quite a bit of interest nowadays in West Africa. And I think one of the hotspots at the moment is Ghana with their newfound oil wealth and relative stability. Yeah.
So oil remains the common theme there. But what about the other areas that everybody else is talking about, which is, of course, is retail? I mean, after that McKinsey report, I think it was last year, there's been a lot of talk about Africa's retail opportunities that have been created by the young population across the continent. Are we beginning to see African companies beginning to work up to that opportunity?
Absolutely. I think, the Walmart thing has definitely been a big shake-up for the industry. And what we're finding is a lot more companies in the retail space are concerned that the market is going to change fundamentally. And I think what we're seeing is a lot of companies are wanting Walmart to pull them up through the continent. So that's definitely I think we're looking at very large populations. One of the markets that also gets spoken about a lot is Ethiopia. We're talking 80 million people. Nigeria with their vast population is of course of interest. And then, retail, I think it's easiest up the eastern side. The connection of English-speaking countries, I think that seems to be the most attractive and the kind of most common trod route into Africa.
Now, Carl, final question. Now, what kind of pitfalls have you identified in terms of the companies that have gone into Africa? I mean, we all know about the usual problems of political instability and weak regulation, etc. Are we beginning to see some of this being addressed, and in which parts of the continent?
Well, I think the chief pitfall going into Africa is really logistics. I think that a traditional but your business model is fundamentally affected by logistics, and if you can't move your goods around and get them to where you want them at the right time, you have problems with particularly in retail, perishables, goods going out of date, stale. We then have the massive cost in terms of logistics. If you're sending something up to Tanzania, say from South Africa, how many roadblocks is it going to stop at, and how what does that amount to? So there's massive costs on the logistics side, and then other challenges we see is simply I think some companies try to apply kind of a global model, an African model to the entire continent, and Africa really it's not a country. It's a series of distinct markets. There's certain similarities in terms of development levels within regions, but fundamentally each country is very different.
Indeed, it's a continent of 54 countries. Carl Marais, Director for Africa at Grail Research, thanks very much indeed for joining us from Cape Town.